Yeah, they said everybody knows what we stand for, and I said, well, private property rights aren't just real estate. I said, when we say that we support private property rights, that's a pretty big statement, and it certainly does have to do with real estate, but it also has to do with limited interference by government in our lives. You see it on boards, you see it in associations, you see it in the halls of Congress and in our state legislature. Power and prestige. Until our elected officials start realizing that they are representatives and not rulers, that they are hired by the people through the electoral process, through elections, they're going to be receiving special attention from the lobbyists who are paid off by special interests that go back to a lot of these public-private partnerships. When you get right down to it, becomes the art of compromise. And the art of compromise becomes a nice way of saying that you're selling people out. But when you go into public-private partnerships, it's funded through tax dollars. It may have some private dollars in it, but it's also funded through tax dollars. And public-private partnerships is just another way that a member of the private sector can receive favoritism from the government for special interests. And that's how special interests are born. It gives them unfair competition because they're subsidized and the other folks aren't. So the answer truly is a free market, and that's what sets us apart from other countries. If you look at the Bill of Rights, government doesn't grant or give or convey rights to us. Those rights are ours, they're natural. And all government does through the Bill of Rights is acknowledge that we have certain natural rights. But we become a government of entitlements, and unfortunately people get entitlements mixed up with rights. The sad part about this is there are people who actually think that we get our rights from the government and that the government can take our rights away. Unfortunately, the latter is what's happening. They are taking our rights away, and it's time that we stood up for our rights. It's time that we say the Bill of Rights it just spells out our rights. Well, and until people start standing up for their natural rights, until they start referring to our Bill of Rights, until people will actually stand up for these things, we're going to continue to see them wane. When a citizen has a problem with government and they challenge government on it, they're paying for their attorney and the government's attorney. Because you keep in mind, government doesn't manufacture, it doesn't produce anything, it creates no wealth. The only thing it can do is collect revenues through taxation, and that's through your check, your check, your check, through all of us, our paychecks. Certain amount is taken out every time we get a paycheck, and that goes to taxation. Now there's proper ways that those taxes are paid. I mean, we have police protection, we have protection domestic and foreign. We have to have roads to drive on. Okay, so there's certain things that taxes go to. But when they start going into special interest, then it's different. And when they can start taking our rights away, then it's time for us to stand up. But it's very tough because, as I said, government takes the money that we pay in taxes, they hire their attorney. We take what's left over and we hire our attorney, so we're paying for both. We're paying for their attorney and ours. You know, there's no question that our taxes have gotten out of hand. And our taxes are no longer just for the purpose of protecting our rights, protecting us. You know, I mean, I always go back to the Bill of Rights, but we're supposed to feel safe in our homes with our papers, with our property, right? And it's gotten so that, like Bud said, you don't even own your home anymore because when you paid off the mortgage, you're still paying taxes. Right. And so government it has gone beyond just protecting us, protecting our homes, protecting us in our homes, to just taxing us for all these different programs. Here's another thing to consider, is every time government writes a check to spend money, they're doing it with money that people are making through their work, okay? And so when they want a program, a new program, where they want to expand a different program, how do they fund that? Well, they go to your paycheck and my paycheck, and they say we need just a little bit more because we've got this really great program that you're going to love. And that's the other thing, you know, so the majority of the people in the legislature or the majority of people in the Congress love this program, but what about the person that has no use for it? Well, let's talk about the proper role of government for a minute. Is the proper role of government just to tax people?
No, not at all.
Okay, if you look at the Declaration of Independence, if you look at the Constitution, it talks about our unalienable, our natural rights. And what it boils down to, what our founding fathers knew, was that government's proper function was to protect those rights. Instead of being protectors of our rights, they become providers of privilege through entitlements. So government has gone far afield from what it was originally established to do. You know, we talked about ordaining and establishing our Constitution to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We need to start with our children. We need to start with our schools. That's another thing that I think is a problem, is the media has a way of pigeonholing people, of labeling people, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat. Those are not the terms that we should be speaking to when we're looking at a problem. You know, John F. Kennedy said, let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democrat answer. Well, we have grandchildren and great-grandchildren that haven't even been born yet. And we need to speak up for them now, because by the time they're our age, it's going to be too late. By the time they're 8 or 9, it could be too late. We love our country, then we should love it enough to stand up for all the things that are right about it and to admit the things that are wrong about it and try and change it. And if everybody in this room went out and got 2 other people to get involved, it's exponential. I talk to people all the time who say that they want to go to the legislature and speak to something, but they're scared to death. You shouldn't be afraid of your government. If anything, your government should be a little bit concerned about you, because they should be protecting your rights, and when they're not protecting your rights, I don't know how many of you have ever taken a good look at the Declaration of Independence. But while I was in the legislature, one of the things that struck me about our Declaration of Independence is that, you know, we start out with, we all know that we hold these truths to be self-evident, you know, that all men are created equal. And it's, you know, it's things that you hear politicians and people speak to all the time. But if you get into the Declaration of Independence very far, you find out that it talks about what happens when government goes beyond its rightful job, its rightful duties. And it says that it is our right to alter or abolish. But now, well, it says that it's our right to alter or abolish it, but then if you read further, it says it's our duty. Now this is what's very interesting. I've spoken to pretty large groups about this. When I tell them that it is their right to cast off such government, to alter or abolish a government that's gone beyond its rightful bounds, they're all with me. Yeah, it's our right. You know, they feel empowered. But when you tell them it's their duty, it's a different thing. Because all of a sudden it's like, I've got an obligation here to do this. That's pretty scary. And that's one of the things that stops people.